This is Francesco Albertino with the Uncensored Report, and we're talking about homeschooling and a new bill that's out there, H.R. 610, that's been introduced. And this is a bill which will send federal education grant money to states so that they can distribute them out to public, private, and homeschooled students. Okay? There's some concerns with this, though, that the HSLDA, which is the Homeschool Legal Defense Association, brought up with H.R. 610 and how it possibly and concerningly may impair the freedom of homeschooling with parents, and how it also could be tracking kids of homeschool parents. And they went through there and they looked at this bill, and they are encouraging the elimination of language, or basically the bill is encouraging the elimination of language to protect homeschool freedom. One of it does is it asks for a full repeal, which would eliminate HSLDA's language, which fully protecting homeschool freedom from all federal control. So basically, if you look at this this bill, page 3, section 104, requires the state to make certain assurances in order to receive their portion of federal education dollars. And one of those requirements is that the state make it lawful for parents of an eligible child to elect to homeschool their child. And what this does is it makes sure that there's no federal right to homeschool. That's basically what it does. And because what could be created by a favorable Congress can be taken away by a future hostile Congress that isn't big on homeschooling, maybe a progressive Congress. And you don't want the federal government to control that. Also, it mandates that states will have to track the homeschool students. And there's numerous provisions within this H.R. 610 that require the states to count their students. And how else are they going to do that? And, if you look, it says on page 5 that it must be done on an annual basis. And the school district must count the number of eligible students who attend public schools and whose parents elect to send their kids to homeschool. There's only one way to do this, folks. Only one way when the states and school districts are involved, and that's by requiring these homeschooling families to register with them directly so that they can be tracked by the school district, which is problematic. And states that do not require homeschooling families to file a notice of intent with their school district. That could be an issue. I think we do have to file here in Florida. The government would now get to decide how much a parent can spend on homeschooling too. And they refer to paragraph B on page 6. It requires the federal education vouchers to parents who choose homeschooling shall not exceed the cost of homeschooling in the child. So the question is, who's going to decide this? Who's going to decide how much it costs to homeschool a child? Is it going to be the government? Do you want the government deciding that? I mean, isn't that why most people left this federal public school system? Because they got tired of the government managing the educational system? Page 8 requires that the federal government, the federal education vouchers that they give us, be distributed in a manner that ensures that such payments will be used for the appropriate educational expenses, which is not defined. They don't define it in this bill. So that basically means that the government, be it state or federal, and your local schools can decide who qualifies and what qualifies for an educational expense. And these are the same hostile public schools that are against homeschooling. And it's a slippery slope. And I'm sure when you see that, you're thinking, this is a slippery slope. And then what it does is bring a lot more federal involvement back into this, or not back, into homeschooling. And they're doing this through the encouragement of what they deem free money. And there is no free money. And if you start taking this money from governments in the form of grants, the government will take their tentacles, their, I got an octopus here for how government takes their tentacles. And they'll want to control it with more oversight, more scrutiny, more regulation. It'll be just like your kids are in the prison, the public school system that I call the prison, the institution. And this is, like I said, this is a huge reason why people go to homeschool. And this is why I want my daughter to go on homeschool, and I'm fine with her over it. The government's trying to find a way to get into your door. They're like a vampire, like an octopus, and they want to get those tentacles around you. So what can you do? The HSDLA, they basically said contact your congresspeople, and especially the ones that initiated the bill. The bill's main sponsors are King Harris and Representatives King, Representative Harris, and Olson. But you can contact your own congressman and ask them to forward it to them. The number for Capitol Hill switchboard is 202-224-3121. And I'll try to put their link to email addresses for your congresspeople above this video. And it's important, folks, and especially if you are homeschooling your kids. So think about it. This has been Francesco Abruzzino with the Uncensored Report.